All right, guys, so we are at CES, and there was a lot to see, believe me. We spent several days going through all the stuff, a lot of nonsense, but a lot of cool stuff as well. So I thought I would break down probably some of the coolest gadgets, some of the coolest tech that we saw. It's definitely not an exhaustive list. There was too much to even talk about that we saw, but I think these are probably the coolest things in my opinion. Let's not wait any longer and go over the best stuff at CES 2017.
Alright, so let's start off with one of the things I was most excited about the whole show, and that is Dell's 8K monitor. I have never seen a monitor at this high resolution. It was unbelievable. You can see way at the bottom is the Windows taskbar and how tiny it is without scaling. Now, we have seen 8K TVs, but the thing about those is there's no content for them to even watch in 8K. There's no videos to watch or movies or anything. But with a computer, depending on your hardware, obviously, you can use whatever resolution you want. So this monitor specifically has a resolution of 7680 by 4320, and at 32 inches, that gives it a pixel density of 280 pixels per inch. So even at that huge size, it still, for example, has a pixel density greater than what you would see in the latest MacBook Pro Retina displays. So that's obviously really good. Now, this thing also does 10-bit color, 100% Adobe RGB color space, and has the 60 Hz standard refresh rate, which is actually pretty good considering the resolution, because even a couple years ago, 4K monitors were only 30 Hz, and I think really the only limiting factor is that DisplayPort and display connection technology is not up to speed with the actual monitors, so we'll probably see that increase as time goes on. And the price tag is $5,000, and it ships later this year apparently, so I wouldn't say this is prohibitively expensive for someone who might want to do high-end professional work, but it's not exactly something that everyone is going to be able to go out and buy. Next up is Sony's ultra short throw projector, which would cost you about $25,000 for the privilege of owning it. What makes this so special, you might ask? Well, like the name suggests, this is a 4K HDR projector that is designed to project onto a screen just inches away from the wall. So the idea is you don't have to hang it up from the ceiling and have it take up a whole bunch of space. You can just have this put right as part of the entertainment center itself, and it just sits right there, pretty much out of sight. Obviously, this is not meant for the average consumer at this price tag, but considering last year's version, which was $50,000, the price has dropped a lot, relatively at least. This is going to be for people who are really rich and apparently don't want a hanging projector. I guess there's a market for it. Now, this thing is actually a laser projector, and the impressive thing really about it is that there's no distortion on this image at all, and the image brightness is uniform throughout. Normally, with a cheapo projector, you would definitely expect, if it's going to be so close to the screen that especially at the top you're going to get light drop off and some distortion. None of that here. You would hope so with that price tag. So truly awesome stuff here. Maybe in a few years the technology will actually be affordable though for most people to actually own. We'll have to see. Okay, next is something really cool that was at the Canon booth, and it was actually from a company called Solidiphy. And they had this huge spherical looking image machine set up, and the idea was you step in and it uses hundreds of Canon cameras to take a 3D image of you. Then you have the ability to order a 3D print of yourself later. They basically had you sign in, you got a little card, and then they scanned that and sent it in an email later. I think it was like $80 depending on the size of the one you wanted to get of yourself. So of course I tried it. You just walk into the thing, stand in the circle, and wait for the flash, and that was it. They had a bunch of the final products on display so you could see them, and they actually did look pretty cool. They're full color, and they also had a little video going that showed the process of how they're made. Now, obviously, this whole setup isn't something you'd buy, but rather I think that the company basically sells and does contracts with businesses who want to do this sort of thing, maybe for events. So I'm not sure where you would actually be able to go if you wanted to do this yourself to get a scan, because you'd have to go to one of these big machines, but it's something to keep an eye out for maybe. It's definitely awesome. I just wanted to show you guys. Alright, moving on. Next is a gaming monitor from Samsung, the CFG 70, and this thing got me really excited for a couple reasons that makes it really unique from your typical gaming monitor. So obviously it's going to have everything you want for gaming, namely 144 Hz and just 1 millisecond input latency. But what sets this apart is that this monitor uses a quantum dot VA panel. So it actually has great color accuracy with 125% sRGB coverage. The reason that this gets me excited, you might not know what I'm talking about, is that normally you either have to pick between a fast, responsive monitor for gaming or a monitor that has good color, but not both. Because typically the only gaming monitors that have such low latency for input are TN panels, which have garbage color. I mean, it's really bad, but they're good for gaming. That's pretty much it. But this is truly the best of both worlds. You're gonna get that color accuracy and really responsive high refresh rate. Now it is only 1080p, but if you are someone who does content creation and gaming, I don't think you can find anything else with these specs. And it comes in under just $500, so this is one I might even pick up myself. We'll have to see. Right now I have a TN panel as my main monitor. It's also 1080p, but it has garbage color, so I might just get this and then be able to actually edit on it and play games. Okay, next we're going to talk about BMW, who showed off some awesome car technology, obviously as you'd expect, as well as some cool concepts they're working on. They had a presentation where of course they talked about self-driving cars, but also how their cars would be connected to a type of smart cloud to learn from other cars on the road. So if there was construction or something going on, the next BMW would know how to deal with it and still be able to drive itself. So these are self-driving cars as well. They also demonstrated the car's ability to park itself, and they even had this little cool robot that was meant to guide drivers to an open parking spot in a parking garage. And they also had this strange looking concept car in the middle of the showroom where they had this console that could be controlled with hand gestures. They called it holographic control, so that was pretty neat as well. I didn't get to try it, but I saw other people using it. Looked pretty neat if it works as well as it looks. Most of the stuff they talked about was just theoretical, it was just concept, but the self-driving technology is already there and they showed it off, so it should be interesting to see how this progresses very soon. Obviously, this is something that lots of other car companies are working on as well. Really exciting stuff. Coming near the end is Razer's Project Valarie laptop, which, if you haven't already heard, was infamously stolen from Razer's booth at the end of the show. Now, this thing is actually a laptop, but as you can clearly see, it has 3 monitors built in. I don't know why the heck you would need 3 monitors on a laptop, but I guess why not? But not only are these 3 screens, but these are 4K screens each, giving it a total resolution of 11520 by 2160. Now, I don't know about you, but I think that having 3 screens would kind of defeat the purpose of buying a laptop for portability. However, they are calling this a mobile desktop, so it seems like they're not even aiming it at someone who is just looking to take notes in class, though that would be pretty hilarious. I'm just imagining that now. I could see someone like myself using it maybe for video editing. They have a picture on the website of it being used just for that, because definitely one of the biggest frustrations of editing on a laptop is the small screen. You have the tiny preview, you have to have all the other controls, it's just frustrating. So maybe this isn't as weird as it seems. And now finally we have something that the average person could actually use, and that is Linksys' new velop router. This is not your typical router, because the whole point of this is that you can use multiple of these router units and spread them across your house for full Wi-Fi coverage. And yes, this is very different from just getting a wireless extender. You see, the velop uses what is called a mesh Wi-Fi network, which is also what the new Google Wi-Fi routers use. You may have seen me mention those in other videos. You see, normally when you get a wireless extender, it creates a totally separate access point. So you have to connect to it separately from your regular network and manually switch between access points depending on which one you're closest to. With a mesh network, on the other hand, this is all done automatically. This technology already exists in most schools and businesses. You've probably experienced it, where you just sign into the network and no matter where you are in the building, it automatically connects you to the closest point. the idea is the same exact thing here. You would place these throughout your home, and your phone or computer would automatically keep you connected to the strongest point no matter where you are. So I definitely think this is a far superior option to just getting an extender if you're someone who has trouble getting Wi-Fi throughout your home, and I think we're going to see a lot more of these come out as other companies start to tag along with this and realize how good of an idea it is and how much people can benefit from it. So definitely something to check out, as well as the Google Wi-Fi, which basically does the same thing.
All right, so that is it. That is the coolest stuff we saw at CES 2017. Hopefully you guys found it pretty interesting. Again, there was so much to even see that we couldn't see it all possibly even after a few days. It'll be interesting to see what they have next year, but I want to hear what you guys think, so let me know down in the comments section, and I'll see you next time.